Dinosaur toys are not traditionally articulated. You might get some arm or leg movement, the tail might move a bit, and if you're lucky, the mouth might open and close. But until a few years ago, there weren't any toy lines that really had expressive articulation for dinosaurs. That is, until David Silva entered the scene, with a highly successful toy line called Beasts of the Mesozoic. What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and like many people, I am obsessed with dinosaurs. I mean, how could you not be? The idea of titanic creatures that ruled the earth millions of years ago is so sci-fi, but also completely true. Of course, we can also point to Jurassic Park as a monument to the popularity of dinosaurs. That movie series and its toys have ingrained so many people with a deep love of dinosaurs. But the movie is also kind of a time capsule, capturing what we thought dinosaurs looked like 30 years ago. And while they've introduced new, more scientifically accurate dinosaurs over the series, the raptors still look inaccurate, as does the T-Rex and the Dilophosaurus and many others. And at a certain point, the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park have become more like movie monsters. And I'm not knocking the series for this, by the way. I like the Jurassic Park dinosaurs just as much as I like the scientifically accurate ones. Though I think there is something to be said about the general audiences that have latched onto the Jurassic Park depictions of dinos, and when scientific discoveries are made, like dinosaurs having feathers, they tend to be rejected by the public at first. But thankfully, we now live in an era where scientifically accurate dinosaurs are celebrated and have become the selling points of other dinosaur franchises, like the Beasts of the Mesozoic toy line, created by David Silva. Silva had worked at McFarlane and Hasbro, and at the time of the first wildly successful Beasts Kickstarter, he was working at NECA. He created the first Kickstarter, which was the Beasts of the Mesozoic Raptor series, because he had seen contemporaries like Four Horsemen and Boss Fight have success, and actually got advice from them on how to put together this Kickstarter. These first toys, the Raptor series, had two major things going for them that sold the idea to dinosaur and toy enthusiasts. The first was that the dinosaurs were as scientifically accurate as possible. These raptors have feathers, and lots of them. And back in 2016 when the Kickstarter began, I remember seeing these and for the first time thinking that feathered dinosaurs can also be badass. The other big selling point is that these dinosaurs were actually posable. The level of articulation given to these toys was unheard of at the time. And even looking at them now, there's not many competitors that come to mind. But we'll talk about that later, don't worry. The Raptor series Kickstarter was a smash success, and it enabled David Silva to continue making these insanely cool dinosaur toys over the years. Eventually he moved on to do the Ceratopsian series in 2019, featuring our favorite four-legged herbivores, which look just as amazing and articulated as the raptors, and the Tyrannosaur series in 2021, which did catch some flack for its articulation, because the T-Rex really didn't have that much, especially compared to like the raptor. I'm not sure why, but my best guess would be like stability for the toy. And while that is unfortunate, the toy is still immaculate. It's hard to beat the painting and sculpting. Not to mention they made a Dino-Riders variant of the Rex, which blew my mind. In case you don't know, Dino-Riders is an 80s cartoon about two sci-fi factions that crash land on prehistoric Earth and use dinosaurs mixed with sci-fi technology to battle each other. Dino-Riders is an often overlooked toy line, but it's incredibly important to the world of dinosaur toys, because they were not only cool as hell, but very scientifically accurate for the time, because the toy designers understood that kids were really tapped in and wanted dinosaurs that looked right. The dinosaurs were so accurate that they were repackaged under a different name and sold at museums. So in a lot of ways, Beasts of the Mesozoic reminds me of a modern day Dino-Riders. And David Silva, being a fan of Dino-Riders, must have felt the same way, because in 2023, Creative Beasts Studios launched their third Kickstarter for a new line called Beasts of the Cyberzoic, which takes the articulated, scientifically accurate dinosaur toy concept and rapidly expanded it by adding armor units and action figures to ride the dinosaurs, as well as adding just straight up freaking dragons. Like, oh my god, this dragon is so badass looking. Okay, I've gotten ahead of myself, but to be fair, that's when articulated dragon does to a man. This video is actually sponsored by Creative Beast Studios, because they graciously sent me one of their Cyberzoic figure sets, which includes a dinosaur, action figure, and armor unit. Now, I'm still gonna be honest about my opinions on the toy. The Creative Beasts haven't bought my soul, Yet. Send over that dragon, and I might be willing to sell. The Cyberzoic Kickstarter was such a wild success that every stretch goal was hit, and in addition to the first 3 sets that were announced with the project, 8 additional sets with new dinosaurs, armor units, and action figures were unlocked. And god, they are all so cool. I had the choice of 2 sets that I could ask for, and I was very tempted by the Aquilabator, who has a very vulture look which I really like, and its armor unit transforms from a visceral metal hound into armor for the dinosaur. That's right, the armor actually converts into a robot dog thing. We're talking Transformers that are not Transformers, baby. Even though I was very drawn to the Aquilabator set, I had to go with my boy, the Allosaurus, which comes with a hover tank that again transforms into armor for the dinosaur, and the pilot named Argentis. But before we get into the toys, if you're enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me against a foe even more ancient than the dinosaurs, Algae-Rhythm. Okay, first things first. The packaging looks very nice, and does a great job of displaying the figures. I can't imagine there's many in-box collectors for this line, but if you are, it's a nice one to keep in box. Let's get to the real interesting stuff though, the Allosaurus. I've always thought Allosaurus would be a great hero dinosaur. He's not as big or menacing as a T-Rex, and Spinosaurus just feels low-key evil. But anyway, back to the toy. It comes in the box with its tail separated, but I noticed small text on the instructions advising to heat up the tail to plug it in more easily. I didn't really know how to do that. I assume a hairdryer would work, but I don't own one, so I just dipped it in a cup of hot water and eventually it plugged in, I think. I didn't hear a pop, but the tail stays in place and articulates, so I'm assuming we're good. The dinosaur also comes with a little modular stand, which is nice, though I have to say the dinosaur does a great job of standing on its own. I was afraid that wouldn't be the case, because just physically dinosaurs tend to have their heaviest parts, their midsection and head, towards the front of their body, and while in real life they were able to balance with their tail, it's hard to translate that balancing act into a plastic toy. But they accomplished that in my opinion. And outside of super dynamic poses, you can very easily pose your dino without the stand. The sculpting on this figure is immaculate. This is truly what dinosaur fans are buying these figures for. And for myself, the texturing is just so pleasing to touch and feel. The face sculpt is incredible. He's got lips over his teeth, which I like. Ever since I heard the theory of lipped dinosaurs, I really can't stand the goofy look some dinosaurs have, with teeth jutting out of their closed mouths. The head crest on the Allosaurus is really lovely. His mouth can open to a certain point, and you can make it open even wider by pushing it under this neck plastic, which is called a floating piece because it's only there to make the rest of the head look good. And damn does it look good. The articulation is phenomenal. Well, phenomenal for a dinosaur toy. He's not pulling SH Figuarts level posing, but the parts you'd think would move do, and some even move more than you think. He can turn his midsection one click left or right, and you can fully turn his head from side to side. The tail has 3 cuts with a ball joint at the base of each cut, and the last tail section has a bendy wire so you can pose the tail how you please. I would recommend holding one finger at the base of the tail and using your other hand to move it, because just trying to bend it with one hand felt like I was pushing the ball joints of the other tail sections too much. Before we move on to the actual Cyberzoic components, I do want to mention some criticism of the line that I've heard. Mainly that the Cyberzoic components like the armor and action figure come sold separately. And I guess I can kinda see the criticism. People feel like the company is nickel and diming you for the whole experience. But I think it's important to remember that the company got their notoriety for realistic articulated dinosaurs specifically. And I'm sure a lot of their fan base is just wholesale uninterested in the Cyberzoic concept. While the dinosaurs do carry the Cyberzoic name on their boxes, they are more or less exactly the same as Mesozoic dinosaurs. And this line is mostly, in my opinion, a way to make more dinosaurs, enticing some people into the line with armor and action figures. Speaking of which, I got the Argentis action figure, and I think he's pretty cool. He's 3 3/4 inch, roughly G.I. Joe sized. He comes with a masked and unmasked head. Swapping them was a pain in the ass. I was seriously afraid of breaking the ball joint, and the helmeted head kept popping off, but eventually I got it to stay. He also has removable hands, which were also a pain to switch out, especially because he has knuckle dusters and they hurt my fingies when I had to push the hands in. Those issues aside, this dude looks cool. A little bit Fortnite coded in my opinion, but his swords are really sick, and I like that his backpack can store them. I also like that he has 2 little toes on his feet. He feels like a cybernetic ninja warrior. He comes with a card for the new Zoic card game, which is actually how I ended up up working with Creative Beast Studios because I saw they were making a new card game focused around dinosaurs, which I love because I feel like there should already be one. I had the Dinosaur King cards back in the day, and I thought they were awesome. This new card game is simply called Zoic, and it features Mesozoic and Cyberzoic beasts in the game. I was supposed to advertise the Kickstarter in this video, but it's already over and successfully funded, which is awesome. And I think including Zoic cards in the new releases is smart, but I hope this isn't what most of the cards look like. It's mostly just stat information on the character or item, and at the very bottom is an ability, which is almost the exact opposite of what you want in a card game. A good card should be 90% game information and 10% or less flavor text. But I'm interested to see how Zoic comes out, and I look forward to watching booster box openings on YouTube. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Converting Dragon Slayer armor unit. Now, since the armor comes packed separately, Creative Beast Studios gave each unit a little bit of a transforming element. While the Razorhound I talked about earlier fully transforms, the Dragon Slayer is what us Transformers fans call a parts former, meaning you have to take the whole thing apart and reconfigure it into armor. Before we do that, I will say the hover tank mode for the unit does look pretty cool. I like the whites and orangey yellow clear plastic. It feels awful to hold though. The whole thing comes apart so it doesn't feel solid at all, and the pieces don't have strong enough connection points to hold on. Getting Argentus to sit in the damn thing was a nightmare. You have to snake his legs through a whole bunch of pieces and plug his feet into these little pedals. It sucks, and pieces are constantly falling off or coming loose. Converting the hover tank into armor was so stressful. I will give the company credit, they provided instructions for transforming it both ways, but I really struggled to read them, and some of the instructions are bizarre. Like, it wanted me to put the foot pedals in this cavity of the bike for storage, and there are 2 little slots, but there's absolutely nothing to plug them into. How are they supposed to stay put? Hopes and dreams? The worst part came when I had to remove the back piece of the tank. I just could not get any clearance for it at all, and while struggling to get it off, it snapped clean in half, launching one piece across the room. Unfortunately, this is a fairly important piece of the armor, as it's meant to connect the main body to the head unit. I think the piece was so hard to remove because all this stuff is painted, and maybe the paint dried and stuck to the other piece of armor, because it was giving me no clearance whatsoever, and I literally didn't feel any give until it just snapped. I took the rest of the hover tank apart and put the armor pieces on. The leg and tail pieces snapped on fine, though it was a little scary to flex the plastic after that breakage. The main saddle unit is attached to the body with a heavy plastic strap. Getting the unit strapped to the body was not the easiest thing. The instructions tell you to put it more towards the front of the body and slide it back, which did work for me. I will say that this piece was rock solid on the figure, and I had no issues of popping it off. And it was actually pretty difficult to get it off, but not too bad. The helmet is another issue. It splits in half for vehicle mode, but it doesn't want to click together towards the front where the horns are supposed to connect, giving it an ugly, obvious crease, and falling apart so easily. Like I said, the part that broke was kind of important. It's supposed to connect the head and body armor, and I really tried to get the 2 broken pieces to fit, but it was just not working. And to be honest, this set made me incredibly frustrated. Here's what I was able to put together, but it just doesn't look good without some of the pieces in my opinion. Let's get into my final thoughts on the product. The dinosaur is absolutely incredible. An awesome toy with amazing articulation, sculpting, and paint. This thing exceeded my expectations, and I'm sure the price is a big turnoff for some. It certainly is for me, but it's hard to deny the absolute level of quality you're getting in this toy. For more casual dinosaur fans, I think Hammond Collection will do just fine. But if you're a proper paleo head, Beasts of the Mesozoic and Cyberzoic are essentially the masterpiece transformers of dinosaurs. The Argentus action figure is fine. I do like that he's 3 3/4 inch, as that's my preferred action figure scale, and I think the painting and sculpting is good. But for a character who has little to no background lore, it's hard to recommend for $30. And I just full on have to say I do not recommend the armor unit, which is not even close to worth $50 to me. I see what the Creative Beasts are trying to do. They're adding value to the separate armor units by giving them vehicle modes, which I think is clever, but it also really feels like they were not prepared to design a toy like this, and it is rough. As someone who has been playing with transforming toys for as long as I can remember, it pretty much breaks every rule in the book, and it also just broke, period. The instability of the vehicle mode really bothers me, because it feels like they just origamied the dinosaur armor into a vehicle. If the idea is to sell the thing on its own, both modes need to be solid. I think a huge issue as well is that they don't want to compromise the dinosaur, so you can't have peg holes or any sort of solid solid connection point on the dinosaur itself, leading to issues like the helmet falling apart. I really do want to make it clear that I think Creative Beast Studios had the best intention with this set, and wanted to give us that Dino-Riders goodness that so many of us crave, but I do think they need to go back to the drawing board for their armor engineering, because this is not cutting it, especially for the price. But again, I do recommend the Allosaurus because god, it is awesome. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to Creative Beast Studios for not only sending me the product, but letting and encouraging me to be honest about it. Most sponsors are not like that, so this was a pleasant experience. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you want to support me further, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. For $1 a month, you get the same perks. Access to my super chill Discord server where we talk about toys daily, watch Toku weekly, and watch movies monthly. And you also get access to my exclusive Toy Dive series, where I take a look at random toy lines that interest me, like Street Sharks, a really cool show and toy line that a lot of people don't talk about anymore. Alright y'all, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.